Hi, my name is Lexi McDevitt. I'm a sophomore majoring in genetics and minoring in zoology. I love to draw, bake, cook, and I have Hashimoto's disease. I always figured that something was up when I struggled with my weight, even though I never went far over 2,000 calories most days. My hair would fall out in clumps, and I felt tired all the time. My mom has hypothyroidism, so she was able to recognize these all as symptoms, and we decided that I needed to get tested. Turns out I basically have the prerequisite to hypothyroidism called Hashimoto's disease. I was diagnosed almost 2 years ago now, and I've been on medication ever since. Still, though, I couldn't help but wonder what treatments existed outside of what I had ever been told about. So, with that, I introduce you to my project, Hacking Hashimoto's with Hypothyroidism with RNAi. I hope you enjoy it. Hypothyroidism is an autoimmune disease that occurs when an individual's immune system mistakes the thyroid for a harmful foreign body and begins attacking it with antibodies such as thyroglobulin or thyroid peroxidase. As a result, the thyroid is unable to produce adequate amounts of hormone thyroxine, which is responsible for maintaining homeostasis and other important metabolic functions within our bodies. This is why symptoms for hypothyroidism often include excessive tiredness, a slowed heart rate, hair loss, and weight gain. The most common solution for hypothyroidism is through synthetic hormone treatment, which is what I and essentially every other person with this disease have to rely on. Man-made levothyroxine is able to replace our natural hormones triiodothyronine and thyroxine. The main benefit to synthetic hormone treatment, particularly with levothyroxine, is that it's particularly effective in supplying our bodies with a good replacement for vital hormones. Although the downside to synthetic hormone treatment is that it's lifelong, so even if your condition improves and reaches healthy levels, you can never stop taking it. Along with this, there's no guarantee that you'll live entirely without symptoms, even if you're on the proper medication and dosage. Another method of treating hypothyroidism is what's known as a thyroidectomy, a surgical procedure that completely removes the thyroid gland. Since hypothyroidism is considered to be easily treated with levothyroxine, thyroidectomies are not typically recommended to those with this affliction. However, surgical removal of the thyroid has not been completely ruled out as a solution, as it does have some undeniable benefits. One study found that compared to a control group who only took synthetic medication, patients who underwent a thyroidectomy along with taking levothyroxine began to experience less symptoms and were shown to have a decreased amount of thyroid antibodies in their system. Unfortunately, though, having a thyroidectomy still means that you'll need to take a synthetic hormone, and the full benefits and drawbacks of this procedure for patients struggling with only hypothyroidism have not been fully observed as of right now. A third way of treating hypothyroidism is not quite as direct as the first two that were previously mentioned. In order to ensure that they live a long and happy life, the best thing one can do is eat a well-balanced diet, exercise regularly, and avoid certain foods that may trigger the immune system to attack the thyroid even more. An example of something to avoid is iodine-heavy foods, since a large dosage of this can have a difficult time being processed in an underperforming thyroid, which unfortunately results in what's known as the Wolff-Chaikoff effect. And this is when the thyroid is continued to be deemed a threat by the body. Once again, though, this treatment will do no good if it is not also accompanied by a thyroid hormone supplement. Another disadvantage to this is that healthy living is also not a guarantee to lessening the symptoms, since things such as weight gain and loss can be more dependent on the genetics of the individual rather than the energy they're taking in versus expending. It's also important to note that many companies and brands will try and take advantage of the healthy living lifestyle in order to sell more items and products for issues that they cannot truly solve. With this in mind, it's best to look at this option as less of an alternative to synthetic hormone treatment and more of something individuals with Hashimoto's can do to increase their likelihood of living a more standard life. So, why is it that levothyroxine is considered such an effective treatment, but millions of people in America are still suffering from hypothyroidism and its symptoms? My expert review actually shed some light onto this question, especially with why so many people still experience elevated symptoms even though their hormones are in balance. In the following excerpt, I interviewed Stephanie McDevitt, my mother, as she discusses her experience with hypothyroidism and how she was treated for it. Stephanie is 52 years old. Her waist to height ratio, WHTR, is 0.61, considered obese, and both her grandmother and her sister were diagnosed with hypothyroidism as well. When asked at what age were you originally diagnosed with hypothyroidism, what pushed you to get tested, and what test did you undergo in order to determine this, she replied, I was diagnosed 16 years ago, so back when I was 36 years old. My doctor was testing me for multiple things, such as congestive heart failure, hypothyroidism, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, etc. When the results came back, I was actually diagnosed with connective tissue disease at the same time I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. I wasn't diagnosed with Hashimoto's until 8 years ago, 2013, and then had my thyroid removed in 2017. My doctors thought I had thyroid cancer, and when my biopsy came back inconclusive, we decided it was better to get it removed anyways. When asked what treatments have you personally undergone in order to help with your hypothyroidism, and are there any that stand out to you as being particularly effective,